Hi guys. Today I want to take a couple of minutes to talk to you about what it means to bear witness or to observe the body. Um, it's a cue that I think yoga teachers give to people frequently in their classes. You're told to be in a pose and to bear witness to your body in the pose, or in meditation, you're told you just need to sit and bear witness to observe the breath. And unless you are kind of deep into yoga philosophy, or you've come across the term somewhere else in the past, you don't really get a lot of context for what that means. And I know that I managed to practice yoga for 5, 6, 7 years, purely as a physical experience, purely as a form of exercise, um, because I wasn't interested in the philosophy until later. And so when I got into yoga classes, when I watched other videos, the term bear witness didn't actually mean anything to me. So I want to talk to you about that today, just to make sure that you go into future classes kind of with a better idea of what that is. And when we talk about bearing witness or observing the body, observing the breath, we're not talking about just sitting there and watching it happen. It's not necessarily you sitting in meditation and thinking, inhale, exhale, exhale. That's a good starting point, but that's not really what that's about. When we talk about bearing witness or observing, we're talking about taking a mental sidestep so that you are actively looking at your own body completely non-biased. So when you bear witness to something, the idea is that you are unbiased, you're non-judgmental. It's not your job to tell a story or to use language with emotional ties. That's not what that's about. It's more about you noting things as fact, noting things to the truest extent of what they are, to the best of how you can understand them at the time. And I know that that's a little bit convoluted, but the idea is that you remove your emotional attachment from whatever it is that you're doing. You remove your emotional investment in your body, in your breath, and you see it for what it is. And that becomes really tricky because the deeper that you get into yoga, the more that you're supposed to apply this across the board. So when we talk about observing the body, observing the breath in our asana practice, really that is practice for you applying it to your whole life. And the idea is that you become less reactionary, so that when you're put in situations that are high stress or that elicit an extreme emotional response, you can take that step back and you can see things for what they actually are, or for what you can perceive to be the closest to what is actually happening based on your limited idea, your limited point of view of the events that are occurring in front of you. And a lot of the time we pitch that as a way to deal with negative things that are happening. So you find yourself in a stressful situation and you can pull back and you can think, okay, wait, what is actually happening? And you can create that mindfulness, that awareness in the moment where you have the ability to create the space to detach your emotions from a situation and to become less invested here, less invested in your emotional seat, and you're able to piece things together in a truer form and get to a situation or a solution to the situation that's a little bit better suited for what's happening. For example, if you're in an argument with somebody and you are very emotionally invested in what's going on, you get to a point where your emotions take the front seat, they take the driver's seat, and it's not what is true that starts to come out of your mouth, it's what you feel is true at the time. And that's why people get into these massive arguments, because their emotions take the driver's seat and they become very attached to their viewpoint and they stop listening to the other person. So it becomes a situation where people are shouting words at each other and they're not listening to the other perspective. They are planning what they're going to say next. They're living in the future, and then what just comes out of their mouths is entirely emotional. If we're able to take a step back, to create that space, to remove our emotions from the driver's seat, remove our attachment from the driver's seat, we can begin to bear witness to what's actually happening. We can begin to listen to what that person is actually saying. We can maybe even make some inference in what they actually mean as opposed to what's coming out of their mouths, particularly if we can tell, if we can observe that their emotions are in the driver's seat. So when we talk about bearing witness, observing, one of the reasons why we talk about that, one of the reasons why we practice that so much in yoga, in our asana practice, is so that we can create that mindfulness going forward. We can become less reactionary and we can start to think in the moment about how we can respond appropriately to situations and find those better solutions that come from up here and not the actual attachment, the actual emotions. So I hope that helps. I hope that that gives you a little bit more context what your yoga teachers are talking about when they tell you to bear witness. And I will see you guys next time.